Okay, this is Robby, round 14, final 3.
Well, first, I want to say, Constance, I'm sorry. And as I just told Nicole, this is the second time in all 18 years that I've been playing Ords that I've cried in a game. Only the second time. And I truly am sorry, Constance, and I hope you know that. And I hope you know that I love you as a person. And I was wrong for kind of leading you on all day and giving you false hope, and I shouldn't have done that. I did the opposite of what Natalie did to me, and she didn't message me, at all, and I did completely the opposite, as I just made you feel too secure. And I'm sorry. And Constance, in the beginning of this game, I didn't think I was gonna like you. I didn't think I was gonna get along with you. I didn't think you and I were gonna be able to talk or be on the same page at all. But that changed. I got to know you. I grew to love you. Every time somebody said something to you or did something that I didn't like, and I stuck up for you because I knew it was right. And I just want to say truthfully, and I don't know, you don't have to believe me. I know you're probably mad at me, and I'm give you time to whatever you need. But I am sorry, truthfully, and I do love you as a person, and I will value your friendship, and I hope that we can talk about it. It's hard. This game is hard. Hold on 1 second. Sorry. Anyway, so well, I mean, on the brighter side, I made it to the final 3. I'm sitting here with Natalie and Romeo. One person I have probably a really good chance at winning. One person I have probably either even split or a very hard road. The easy person would be Natalie. I think she's burned way too many bridges. That's why I gave her the code name, the Arsonist tonight, because she burned every single bridge that she's made in this game. And Romeo, I feel like it would be a very hard battle. I know he's got a few votes locked because he hasn't done anything to piss anybody off, but Romeo has been there for me so much since the beginning, from the moment that I went to him and said, dude, you're getting the votes, we have to change that. And he's just been there completely. Every round we've talked about every single vote, every single move together. So if I did win, I would probably take Romeo with me to the end, even though it would be a harder win. At this point, I don't care about winning. I just want to get there with someone who has completely and given me their trust unselfishly 100%, and that person was not Natalie. So yeah, I'm gonna do another confessional, probably tomorrow before the challenge. But I just wanted to kind of express my feelings with Constance, and I wanted Constance to know that I do love him, and I'm very sorry. And he means a lot to me as a friend. And I don't care about your vote in the end. If you're on the jury, I don't care if I get your vote or not. As long as I have your friendship, that's all I care about. But
I do have a question.
Sure.
So you were with a group of people that you have been working with for a very long time. You kind of mentioned tonight that Natalie came to you and said, look, I screwed up. I told some lies. I did some things. And you guys kept her safe. I would assume that from what you said, she would have been the target tonight if she had not won. Or would Constance still have been the target?
It's kind of hard to say, because the reason why Natalie, I mean, it would have been very hard. I think it would have been. I think Romeo and I would have talked about it, and I think it could have potentially tied if she didn't win. I feel like if I won, they were going to go after Romeo, and Romeo and I would have probably voted for Natalie. It would have tied. So it's really hard to say if she didn't win what would have happened, especially since if she didn't win and she didn't do all this stuff last night and today of coming after me hardcore, it's hard to say what would have happened not without giving that information.
So you still did have the choice of sending Romeo home. Why did you decide? Is it the same reason you're thinking tomorrow? Maybe it would have been easier with Constance and Natalie, but you've been there since day one. Was that your thought process with that as well?
Well, I mean, I feel like after what Natalie did today and Constance knowing about that and voting for Romeo, obviously Natalie was pissed at that. She thought Constance was voting with her, but Constance would have taken me if he won to the end. I would have taken him to the end. Natalie would have taken him to the end. So I needed basically I needed the person that I spoke to first, which was Romeo. Romeo, besides Rory, Romeo was the second person that I talked to. So I was keeping my loyalty there as opposed, as on the fact of who I spoke to first. And then the second thing I thought about was I was going into a final three. I would have went into the final three with Natalie and Constance. I don't think Constance could win a challenge, and it would have been probably down to Natalie and myself. And if Natalie won, she was taking Constance. I think in this situation with Romeo, now that Natalie knows she fucked up and she's in this final three with myself and Romeo, I can have an opportunity to talk to Natalie and show her what actually is going to happen if Romeo makes it to the end. So I want to be able to have Romeo taking me to the end and Natalie taking me to the end. And of course, if I win, I would probably take Romeo, even though I would most likely fucking Swiffer sweeper the fucking floor with Natalie.
So I'm hearing no matter what, you're not throwing this competition.
Absolutely not. I'm going for it hardcore. I want to build my resume once more with another challenge win. This would be number 5. I think 1, 2, individual, 3, 4. Yeah, I think this would be number 5. I'm not too sure on that, but yeah. So I want to build my resume with another challenge win, and I want to be able to have the power to decide who sits next to me in the end.
So you bring up a good point with the twist of this game. No one knows who was the challenge beast this season. There were a lot of assumptions made, a lot of rounds. And we can tell you how many you've won, but we're not going to tell the jury how many you've won. So how are you going to combat that in the jury, and how are you going to sell that as a selling point when no one voted for the person who was immune all season?
Right, and you know what? That's the funny thing, because just when I hosted Pro, since we had a very similar twist, nobody knew who won immunities. If the votes were cast, the votes were, voted for that person, and nobody ever voted for. One round they did, but they weren't too sure. It was only 3 votes. But basically, one round out of all the rounds, nobody voted for the person who had immunity. And I asked the same exact question: how are you going to convey it to the jury about your challenge wins? I'm going to just tell them every detail of the challenge. I'm going to tell them how when I went into the challenge with the interrogation, how I went into the challenge with the unscrambled words. I focused, and I felt like I needed to win the challenges. I have to. I don't know if they're going to believe me because you guys can't verify it, but I have to do everything I can to convey as much information to them about my wins as possible, and also bring up the very big fact, or the very big point that Natalie made tonight when she said, and I didn't want anybody believing it, when Natalie said, Robby, you ran this game pretty much the whole time. You were the forefront of all the decisions. Yes, I know that, but I don't want her. I don't want Romeo to think that now and be a threat in his eyes. But I'm going to use that as a strong talking point. I'm going to say, Natalie said to me, Robby, you ran this game. You were the lead on all of the moves that we made. And I'm going to say she was absolutely right. Not to shoot my own horn, but Natalie called it correctly, and he had every single right to want to go after me, and it didn't work. So, I want these people to know that I was a main factor in the moves that we made. I won challenges to keep us safe. And yeah.
So I have one more question. Say you went home tonight. Who would you have been rooting for, and who would you have likely voted for?
Out of the 3 remaining, I would have been rooting for, and I would have voted for Romeo.
For who?
Romeo.
I thought you said Rory.
Well, I was about to, actually. So I thought it sounded like I was Romeo.
I was like, well, that vote wouldn't have counted.
I mean,
what do you think he has done over the other 2 that makes him worthy of your vote?
Well, personally, okay, so here's the thing. So Natalie could have been worthy of my vote, had she not did what she did twice. Not only did she do it the first time and sold us out and completely gave all the information to Curtis and his minions, and then come back crying, apologizing that she did it. Not only did she do that once, but she just did it again. She went around instilling in Romeo and Natalie that I had to go, not reaching out to me once, telling Constance things like, if you don't vote Robby, then I'm going to vote you, using the same bullying tactics that Chandler used back in the earlier rounds on Constance. So that's what lost her my vote. She would have had it. Constance, I felt like, yes, he was targeted a few times, but he had myself, Natalie, and Romeo there to make sure that those targets or that execution did not go through. So I felt like out of everyone, Constance relied on people more than Romeo did. I feel like Romeo was always in the decision making with me. He kind of always knew what was going on. Romeo was able to keep unlike Constance and Natalie, Romeo was able to keep a relationship with Curtis and Jimmy and Mark, people on the other side, as part of his social game. So I felt like he trumped in social game as well over Natalie and Constance. So I think that's what I won him my vote.
I do have one more question. I lied. So Romeo, on the same token, could have voted you out tonight, absolutely, and he didn't. Do you think that makes you feel more comfortable that you're safe if you don't win with him?
Yes, I feel like. I mean, why would Romeo, out of all this time, he's had a couple chances to vote me out. Why at the end of this game, when it comes down to the last challenge, if he won, why he would vote me out? I feel safe. I just never feel safe enough to not go hardcore the challenge. I mean, I can be sitting there with 2 people who say that they're going to take me to the end no matter what, but I would still give everything I have for the challenge because that's just how I am. I'm overly competitive, and I need to. I think making sure that I feel like I like to have all the power in my hands at all times, but I feel pretty secure enough that Romeo, even though he knows that he would cream Natalie in the end, I feel like Romeo is the type that would give up a good fight and stick to his word that we've made at the beginning of this game, which is a Robby Romeo final 2. Double R, baby.
If he doesn't take you, does he lose your vote?
No, not necessarily, because I think in a way it is a great game move to get rid of me. So I respect moves. I would have respected Natalie for getting me out this round if she did, but I would have respected her more if she did it in more of a subtle way than going and kind of threatening people to do it or not talking to the person that's going. No matter what, I mean, even like I did with Constance today, which was probably bad on my part, because I should not have led him on all day. How I wanted communication from Natalie, I gave Constance too much communication, too much hope, and that was my mistake, and I shouldn't have done that, and I apologize over and over and over again for doing that. That was my mistake, and I'm a terrible person for that.
Okay, I think that's all I had for this. Do you have any final thoughts?
That's all I have.
All right, let me stop recording.